Welcome to Conversations with Cubit, and thank you for joining me tonight. I got to tell you, thanks for supporting these weekly conversations. We took last week off for the midterm elections, and because I just wanted to attend a few election watch parties. But we're back for the next couple of weeks, and if you are new to these weekly conversations, welcome to the family. Yes, I consider you family. My team and I are excited that you found your way here. And by the way, I love getting all of those words of encouragement in my inbox, so keep those coming. They mean a lot to me, they mean a lot to my team, and even to the guests that join us every week. Be sure to check out some of my past conversations by heading over to my YouTube channel. Just look up Conversations with Cubit, and once you get there, subscribe, hit the like button. Please do that for me. After you browse all of the past conversations, you'll find some that you like. You will not be disappointed. But right now, I need you to do me a favor. I want you to share tonight's conversation. That's just hit the share button. Even if you got to leave and go to the bathroom or go watch the game or that announcement that's being made by Trump somewhere, hit the share button so everybody else can get it. Now, tonight, I'm introducing you to Oklahoma County District Attorney-elect. So everybody needs to know it. Please, 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 please share this conversation. Now, let me give you just a little shout out to our partners here at Green Pasture Studios, Richard and Amy James. That's where we are tonight. They are the founders of Green Pasture Studios, which is found right here in Northeast Oklahoma City near Spencer, Oklahoma. Out here, they're making movies. It's their business to make movies, full-fledged movie productions, commercials, and they even have a training academy. They actually teach people of all ages how to work in this industry. It's really cool stuff going on out here. So please look them up online and figure out how you can get involved. Now, let me share with you the 3 simple goals I have for these weekly conversations. They're really simple. 1, add value to people in my community. 2, inspire you to believe in what people can become when we're willing to work together. And 3, love people, period. All this means is I want you to be inspired, and I want you to get useful information and resources, and I want to celebrate individuals, groups, and organizations who are making a positive impact on our community. Every conversation will be about inspiration, information, and hope. So please now, I'm so excited, allow me to introduce you to my friend, Vicki Behenna. Vicki is a friend of mine who I met some time ago. We shared the stage a couple of years ago discussing race relations and justice. Vicki graduated from Oklahoma City University School of Law and spent more than 25 years as a federal prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Oklahoma. And during her tenure, she tried fraud cases and was responsible for the prosecution of very complex public corruption cases. Vicki was selected to participate in the Oklahoma City bombing case against Timothy McVeigh as a special attorney to then U.S. Attorney Janet Reno. In 2015, Behenna was named the executive director of the Oklahoma Innocence Project. Her tenacious efforts on behalf of the wrongly convicted gave her a unique insight into the criminal legal system. She also spent the last several years as a criminal defense attorney, but she gave all that up recently to run for Oklahoma County District Attorney. She had never run for political office before and started the campaign process very late, I might add. But because of her reputation and hard work, she was able to defeat a seasoned politician easily in last week's election. Would you please send out a warm virtual welcome to my friend, Vicki Behenna? And the crowd goes, wow.
Thank you
I stumbled
so
all
much,
over that.
Wayland, for having me.
No.
You're just a gem. I'm so glad that we had an opportunity to meet during those conversations. I think it was with the Thunder organization.
It was with the Thunder. It was with the Thunder.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I was doing the 2020.
You were campaigning.
I was campaigning. Okay. Yeah. So I was probably I was like you, very passionate about what you were doing and why you were doing it.
Yes.
And that kind of thing. So I thank you for taking time. You've been all over TV, but this is live.
I know.
This is your first live.
This is frightening.
No. I'm not going to ask you because you've been on 2 or 3 times before. This is the 3rd time.
Yes.
And I asked you whether you drank beer or wine or would you prefer beer or wine. And I didn't have the right choice on there.
You didn't.
Because we both like whiskey.
Whiskey.
Strikes off. And I think, did we even talk about what kind?
No.
We didn't?
No.
Okay, let me guess. Woodford.
No.
Upper shelf, higher than that?
No.
Lower than that?
Jameson or Ha'Penny. A friend introduced me to Ha'Penny, which is a
I have to try
not very
that.
expensive
I have to try
Irish
that.
whiskey.
I have
But
to
it's
try
got to
that.
be an Irish whiskey.
It has to be Irish.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna buy you some as a congratulations.
Okay.
Because I'm very excited that you won. I'm very excited that you're back. So I'm happy.
I appreciate it. It was so nice to see you at the watch party too. I mean, it was a little overwhelming for me, but it was nice to look around that crowd and see people that I admire.
There was a
or respect.
lot of people, and they weren't leaving. They weren't leaving. You were kind of pulling a little Beyonce thing, like, I ain't going down there till my crowd get big enough.
It wasn't me. I was ready to go down. It wasn't me.
I said, I did this all wrong. I was down hobnobbing with people at my watch party, and you were supposed to wait.
Yes,
Okay,
you have to wait for the entrance.
You have to wait for the entrance. Okay.
The song, I think it.
Well, you
hit me
killed
with
it.
your best shot.
You did it. You did a good job. I know a lot about you. Other people that have watched you on the show, we've covered this space a lot, but now there's a lot more eyes on you. Like hundreds of thousands of people checked your name last Tuesday, so they want to know, who are you? I want to know. So give us the background.
Well, I'm just a lawyer. I'm a person who was born in Oklahoma County 100 years ago. We're not going to say exactly how long ago, but a long time ago. My dad is a native Oklahoman. I was raised in this county until I was about 10. Left, came back when I started college and have stayed, raised my family here. So I'm just a person that cares about Oklahoma County first and foremost. I went to college. I thought I would be a broadcast journalism major. I was terrible at that.
Really?
Yes. I mean, that was my major. But I was awful at it. I couldn't read the teleprompter. I couldn't.
I can't either.
And so I started looking for another career. And at the time, my husband and I were married. We got married very young. And I said, look, I'm going to go to law school. And, he was kind of lukewarm about the idea. So I went to law school. And I mean, the rest is, I'm just a lawyer. I'm just a person that wanted.
What made you want to go to law school? That's a pretty big jump.
From broadcast journalism to law school.
Yeah.
No, I think it was, I have a consistent theme in my life where people have told me, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that. And so as soon as somebody says, oh, you can't do that, then that's the thing I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to go do. And so there was a little bit of that about going to law school. I mean, my parents were not college educated. I didn't have a mentor in the law. I didn't really know what law school was about.
But there's all kinds of law. Like you could have, why criminal law?
That was a federal judge. So as a very young lawyer, I tried a case in front of Judge Ralph Thompson. I lost horribly. We did a terrible performance. My client lost. But the federal judge either felt sorry for me or saw something in me and asked me to come to his office about a week later and said, look, I think the U.S. Attorney's Office is looking for some lawyers. I think you'd be a good fit up there. Why don't you go visit with Bill Price? He was the U.S. Attorney at the time. And I went upstairs and I met Mr. Price and he offered me a job. So, I mean, it was nothing in my life, Wayland, has ever been scheduled or plotted out. Like, I'm going to go here, and then once I get this job, then I'm going to move here. It's all been a movement based upon what I thought I needed to do. Does that make sense?
Kinda to me, because I mean, I ran for office, so I understand that. But we need to make them understand what that feels like. So we've talked a couple of different times, but since that hug, that high five, you did it, girl. I went home and went to bed because I had to go to work the next morning. This was your first time. Yeah. Tell me what got you off the couch to put aside your practice. You were doing good work, the Innocence Project. What about this race said, I need to go be district attorney?
Because I care about this county. I care about the criminal legal system, and I care about the people that find their way in it, whether you're a victim or you're a defendant. And my opinion is that the person who is the district attorney needs to have experience in the system, understand how it operates, the mistakes that we can make, the things we do better. And that's really why I got in, Wayland. It was.
But you know, there was some experience in the primary. There was a lot of other people on the ballot, right? You didn't look at any of them and think, oh, they'll take care of it. They'll do it right.
Nobody had my experience. I mean, I'd seen the criminal legal system from all sides. I was a prosecutor, a defense lawyer. I headed up the Innocence Project. And remember, I had a family member that went through the criminal legal system. I had a perspective. I don't think anybody ever running for district attorney or any district attorney has ever had that 360-degree view of the system. And it gives you a different perspective on how to operate within that system.
You're also one of the few people that work in the justice system that routinely calls it the criminal legal system. I'm guessing, but I bet you didn't always call it the criminal legal system. When did that change and why?
I didn't. A lot of it started working at the Innocence Project because I feel the 1,500 clients that applied for help from the Innocence Project didn't feel there was much justice. And so, again, I mean, looking at the system from different perspectives makes you understand. I think as a prosecutor, I always felt it was the criminal justice system. I was making sure justice occurred. But you have to understand that there are people that enter the system, people that get convicted, and people that get sent to prison for a long period of time, that there wasn't any justice.
Would you agree that justice is not just found in the system, justice could be found in neighborhoods and how we treat one another and in other systems?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right. And so we want to model that as leaders, what justice looks like.
That's right.
You talk about your goal as a leader at the DA's office is not just convictions, or is it convictions at all? What is the goal?
To seek justice. I think I might have shared this with you, but I was on spring break with my sons, and I saw a marquee sign outside of a church, and it is quoting Micah, and it says, "What does the Lord require of me? To seek justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God." And I remember reading that marquee, and I was thinking, I mean, it just spoke so strongly to me. I was a federal prosecutor at the time, and I felt strongly that that was a mantra, that was a phrase, that was a verse that I needed to live by. And I've tried to live my life by that every single day, not just as a prosecutor, but as a defense lawyer. And I had a wonderful mentor when I first went to the U.S. Attorney's Office. The U.S. Attorney at the time, he later became a federal judge, Tim Leonard, after I tried one of my very first cases. And it was actually the sentencing. I did one of my very first sentencing. It was very difficult for me to go through that process and watch the family member see their loved one get sentenced. And I went upstairs and I told Judge Leonard, I said, I can't do this. And he said, "You're exactly the person that needs to be doing this job because you're seeking justice and you have empathy and you're not out just to get people because you can."
Right.
And so, I've tried to carry those principles with me my entire life.
Right. There's a relationship that, and I'm probably jumping ahead of my questioning, but there's a relationship between the police departments in the county, and there's more than just the Oklahoma City Police Department in the county, and the DA's office.
Yes.
And I've been a cop a long time, 26 years, and I do remember being very, very frustrated knowing that I caught a suspect doing this thing, victimizing this person or this neighborhood or this, and to see them out and about doing the same thing again, it is troubling. It is troubling. We said then, we were blaming then Bob Macy, Wes Lane, David Prater. They're soft on crime because they keep coming back. You were labeled during this campaign as soft on crime. And we got to get harder on crime. Those things that I was fussing about 26 years ago, they're still fussing and griping about today. Yeah. Right? What's the approach, and how do we stop the idea of soft and hard on crime? What's the approach? What should the approach be?
Well, first of all, let me just address it this way. I was a very young prosecutor during the 90s when the tough on crime attitude started. We had mandatory sentencing guidelines where if you committed this offense and it was a drug offense or something serious, you were going to go to prison for 20 years, even if you were a mule.
Right.
And I think social scientists have taught us that what we do when we give sentences of 30, 40 years is we institutionalize people because they don't know how to live out in community. And so I say that to say this. Sentencing recommendations have to be made based upon the seriousness of the offense, the weight of the evidence against the person's criminal history. Do they have a lot? And the nature and circumstances and characteristics of the individual in front of you. So, does the individual have substance abuse problem? Does the individual have mental health issues? Does the individual have significant unresolved childhood trauma? All of those things weigh in. What is the appropriate sentence? And you know, Wayland,
do you weigh in what the victim has to say about that?
Yes, the victim does have a voice, but you have to understand, while the victims are notified, the victims don't always have all of the facts in front of them to understand why a certain sentencing recommendation is made for the individual.
Well, I've talked to some victims' rights groups that would very much want to be at the table.
I understand.
They want to know all of that. I don't know what they're privy to or what they're not privy to, but they want to be involved, and they want to see restorative efforts made, not just punishment, because they feel like I'm saying I've had this conversation recently. They're saying we're making people worse.
Making people defendants worse?
Making defendants worse.
No, I think there is definitely a clear avenue for restorative justice. And trying to make, that's an empathy connection, right? Getting the defendant in front of the victim, having the victim explain to them what they have gone through as a result of the crime that the defendant committed.
And the collateral damage.
That's exactly right. So that's important. But again, it works for some people, it doesn't work for other people. But that's the role of a prosecutor. That's why experience matters.
Experience matters. Stay on message. All right. I know I don't want to get into the weeds on a whole lot of things. I do have some more kind of technical questions, but I want to know what you learned from this process. I want to know if it's even thing like, the whole campaign process. What did you learn?
So campaigning and politics was very different for me. It's very outside of my comfort zone. It's very much talking about yourself and selling yourself to people. And I'm a very private person. I've lived a very private life. And so that part of it was difficult, hard, unusual for me. But one of the things that I did really enjoy is meeting people that I never would have met had I not run for district attorney, and learning about all of the community leaders that are taking it upon themselves to do something good for the community, whether it's helping youth or helping victims of domestic violence get their lives back together, or helping defendants once they have served their time come out and get a job and learn how to work technology. I mean, there are just some really wonderful people here in Oklahoma County.
What surprised you about running?
How unpleasant it is.
You didn't know it was? I didn't either. I thought, how bad could this be?
I was told that it would get nasty and dirty. I had no idea how nasty and dirty it would get.
How bad did it? The worst thing that I heard, and here's the thing though, I know that your husband and your kids, and hopefully not you, were in the comment section of everything that was posted. And they were listening to people's comments and stuff. And it's some horrible things said in the comments. But what was the thing that made you say, that pisses me off? And it's probably something that wasn't true, I'm sure.
Well, I think that's what, if you talk to my husband, he would tell you when I would hear advertisements or at the debate when allegations completely unsubstantiated and ridiculous allegations were made about me. That made me angry.
Yeah.
I mean, I could not have survived in the legal community in Oklahoma City and have the reputation that I have, not just with my colleagues on the defense side, but with prosecutors and judges, if any of those ridiculous allegations were even a fraction of the bit true.
Right.
And that made me angry.
Right. It scared me that it might work.
It did me.
Right.
Because if somebody would say that about me,
Yeah.
what might they say about somebody else who's facing charges in that office?
I had a moment in my campaign that that was asking me to go a little lower than I wanted to go, and made a good case that you need to go. You need to say this. You need to put this out. You need to mail this. You need to film this. You need to put this out. And I decided to draw the line at that point. Mm-hmm. Did you find yourself being pulled because of those things, going to say, how low will I go?
No, because that's not who I am. It's not who you are.
Right. You didn't have to.
I'm not going to go there.
Right.
If people wanted to believe it and they wanted somebody else to be the district attorney, well,
Right.
so be it. But no, I mean, I have my integrity. You have your integrity, and we have to live with ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Win or lose, I've got to wake up and be me tomorrow.
That's
right. That's right. So here's the thing. I remember, and I think we can go there. We had a meeting. I wouldn't even call it a meeting. I guess we were introducing you to some friends of mine. Just small group. And you were sharing. I could tell that you were not comfortable sharing your personal story, but in this small setting, you did, and I learned a little bit more about you. I want you to share a little bit. I don't know how to ask the question. I want you to share about what it's like being a mom of an incarcerated kid, because I think that's where you sold the room on who you were as a person and how you would serve us. We all said, Vicki, go out there and let them know you're a mother. Yeah. Life doesn't come with a manuscript. They come with moms. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And so talk to us a little bit what it's like and how you're going to use that experience as a mom of incarcerated parents to do this job faithfully and fairly.
Well, Wayland, it's not, and I think I might have even told that small group. I mean, it was nothing that I would have ever wanted my family, my son, or really anybody else to have to go through, although it happens every single day. Mm-hmm. In our criminal legal system. But that experience, I mean, it's something the first day that you see your son, and you know your kids, right? I mean, you know their heart. Mm-hmm. And the first time you see your child in an orange jumpsuit. Mm-hmm. The first time you have to go through the secure perimeter of a visitation room mm-hmm. in a prison to go in and see your child. I mean, my husband and I went up to Kansas City, Kansas, because Michael was in Fort Leavenworth, every weekend. That's a 5-hour drive one way. Mm-hmm. And I was thankful that we had the resources to be able to do that, because I know there's a lot of moms who cannot, even within the state of Oklahoma, take the time or have the money to drive and go see their loved one. But I was not going to allow that situation to separate me from my son. Mm-hmm. So how does that affect my decision as a district attorney? It gives me that mercy element that we talked about in Micah. Mm-hmm. Look, not everybody gets to walk out. If you've committed a crime, there's a punishment and there's a consequence to it. Mm-hmm. But I think it gives me the ability, having gone through what I went through, to understand I don't think there are very many throwaway people.
There's no such thing.
There are some sociopaths that cannot live within the bounds of society. You will agree
Can't share
with me on
space
that.
with them, maybe, but they're no throwaway people.
Well, okay,
right?
fair enough, fair enough. I just don't believe that. I believe there are a lot of broken people in the system, and that if they are shown that there are consequences for actions and given the opportunity to do something different, that hopefully they'll choose that different alternative. And so, having watched my son go through what he went through, well, I guess I would leave it at that. It's trying to use that balance to make the right judgment about who gets a 5-year sentence or a 10-year sentence as opposed to a life sentence. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, having this experience myself, right, as a police officer, instead of walking a suspect out and looking at his family and going, he's getting what he deserved, I can look at him as I walk them out and say, you're going to be all right.
That's right.
You're going to get through. You're going to survive because I did. Right? You're going to make it. It's going to be tough, but you're going to make it. And I'm going to make sure he makes it when he's in my care. Right? And you looking across the courtroom, being able to say, this is what I'm asking for. I know it's reasonable. Right. And Mom, I know what you're going through. You can make it because I made it.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because I tell every one of my defendants, clients that I represent, once they're sentenced to time, and their families, you're going to survive. It's not going to be comfortable.
Right.
But you'll survive.
You can do this. Yeah. You can do this. I think that's important. All right. There's some big topics. You take any ones you want to. These are the things that people want to know from the new district. No, I'm not going to ask these. Those are heavy. I'm going to go back to, you're the first female.
I know.
You're the first female district attorney in Oklahoma County. I don't know if it's not in the state, but.
No, just Oklahoma.
Just Oklahoma County. But that's big. Tell me what that means to you.
Oh, you know, when my husband Scott and I were talking about me running, and, you know, it was all these, you're not going to make everybody happy, someone's always going to be mad at you, Vicki. You know, do you want to throw yourself in the middle of this? And I remember one conversation that we were having. I had 3 sons. I didn't have a daughter. And I now have 2 granddaughters. Mm. And I remember making this statement to my husband, this is so silly. And I said, you know, I want to run for them. I want to run for them because I want them to understand that women can do anything that they want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't come from a wealthy family. As I said, my parents were not college educated. Mm-hmm. You know, I've made it through law school. I've had a wonderful career here in Oklahoma. And I just want my granddaughters I want them to be proud of me.
Yeah, yeah. You have no idea on how many people you inspired just by taking a step toward that office. I had no idea on how many people. I'm like, all right, I lost in public. No. But the message of trying, putting yourself out there, showing that you care, inspires people to do. There are people now that have sent me a message that says, I ran for office because I was inspired by you running for office. And they've actually won, right? So you doing this as inspired, you'll figure it out. You're going to be getting messages on how many people you inspire. They still come in. All right, take these and run with it. There's a cash bail issue that's going to be on your plate. There's high profile cases with OCPD that's going to be on your plate. People are knocking down your door. There's the relationship with OKCPD that people are saying you need to mend that. I don't even know how bad it's broken or whatever. There's people that says, you know, communities of color don't trust law enforcement, and you're part of law enforcement now. I don't care about all that. We don't trust the DA's office or police. How do you deal with building trust in that? And then I want to talk about, we talked about this before, so I guess I got to be the one to hold your feet to the fire. A conviction integrity unit, you know, that kind of stuff. Take any one of those. We don't have time to go through all of them.
I mean, if we're talking about priorities within the office, I mean, there are a lot of things, Wayland, I am learning right now that need to be addressed. And I think I told you before we came on, I mean, there are positions that have to be filled immediately because there are dockets that are moving as we speak. So priorities are shifting based upon what the needs of the office are. I have met with, I think, the majority of the police departments in Oklahoma County. I didn't realize there were 17 of them or something. I mean, it's just, but I want to continue the dialogue and making sure that they understand that they have access and that we're communicating. And if they're frustrated about a process or with me or with the prosecutor, that we're fixing that. I'm going to have another meeting with Chief Gorley, the Oklahoma City chief. So I'm working on those relationships. I don't know if they were completely disengaged, but it doesn't matter to me because I'm going to start that relationship rolling now because it's important for us to be communicating in order for us to effectively keep the public safe. So that's a priority for me. Can't remember the other things that were on the list.
I'll give you, go with trust. Communities of color.
You know, I want to continue dialogue. I mean, I've spent a lot of my time on the Northeast side talking to community leaders here, and I want to continue to engage in a dialogue, understanding if there are problems, what those problems are and what we can do better. We've talked about having a Citizens Advisory Council so that I can meet maybe quarterly, I don't know, maybe once a month, with community leaders from all over Oklahoma County and understand if there are issues, things that we can do better. If there are victims that feel like their voices are not being heard, I want to hear that as well. So
a lot of work to be done with Latino community.
That's exactly right. There's a huge distrust of law enforcement.
Yeah.
So yes, those are all bridges I want to build. It's not going to be done overnight, but I'm committed to making sure that people have a voice with the district attorney's office. It doesn't necessarily mean when I say you have a voice that I'm going to say, oh yeah, I take your opinion and yeah, I'm going to run with it.
Right.
I still have to be the ultimate decider, if you know what I mean. But that doesn't mean I can't listen and learn.
Right. What about any thoughts on the high profile cases? We have Stavion Rodriguez case. Everybody knows about that. Your opponent already had decided what he was going to do with it. You were not so fast to make an opinion. Still that way?
Of course, I don't know the facts. I mean, I've got to learn what the facts are, and I'll start that process probably in January.
Right.
So no, I mean, I don't prejudge a case just because of what I think I heard on the news. I'm going to learn what the facts are, see where the case stands, and then we'll move forward from there.
All right, last question. You said all through the campaign, I've listened to, because I watched so closely. All right. You said this is not a political office.
It's not.
It's not a political office. I had to run as something, right? What message right now do you have for those people that didn't vote for you?
I think the primary message is don't discount someone because they run as a Democrat. I have experience in the criminal legal system. I understand the number one role of a district attorney is public safety. I did that for 25 years. And just to trust in the person, that I understand what I'm doing, I understand what my job is, and to give me the room to be able to show you what I know, what I have learned over the past 30 years, and to give me the opportunity to represent Oklahoma County the way I know I can.
Yeah, that's great. I can tell you right now, after visiting with her many, many times, that she didn't run just to serve Democrats.
No, I did not.
She did not win to just serve the Democrats. There's nothing in the paperwork that's going to tell them what their voter registration card is. So I appreciate you running. I appreciate your whole family for doing it. I know how hard it is. I saw how hard you worked. It was fantastic to watch, and it was an upset, right? You didn't raise near as much money as he loaned himself.
Yeah,
right.
That's true. That's true.
So that's really good. That's so good. So I appreciate that, and you have this platform anytime you want. I don't know if it's any good for you or not, but
sure.
it's always open for you. So that's it for Conversations with Cubit. We'll see you next week. I got Josh Norman, University of Oklahoma's Josh Norman, next week. Conversations with Cubit. Drop in. We'll see you.